Hey guys, OGalbina here, bringing you guys our BFO Surge Tour draft analysis, team breakdown, kind of tour announcement, I guess, that we're playing in the tour and things like that on the channel here. Today's video, again, is just going to be breaking down our team, showing you guys what we drafted, and kind of explaining the Surge Tour, at least to the best of my abilities, as I'm still kind of figuring it out and learning. I've never actually played in a Surge Tour, played Surge format, anything, so it'll be a learning experience for you and me if you've never seen it, or if you've seen Surge and you want to see a new guy try and play it, you know, definitely, stick around and watch. If you enjoy the video, be sure to like. If you're new here, be sure to drop a sub. We are so close to 600, and I would very much so appreciate it if you helped me out along that journey. Now, what is the Surge format? Again, to the best of my abilities, and big shouts to Aquarius. They're absolutely killing it running this tour, as well as, you know, everybody else who's running it and things like that. Big shouts to them. I won't lie, when you hear the format, you'll probably be a little apprehensive like I was. I was pretty apprehensive about this at first, but, you know, after I started building and playing and stuff like that, some of my games, I actually had a lot of fun, and it's definitely very, very refreshing, and I'm sure it'll be a really, really good time for you and me. Me playing and you obviously, you know, digesting and enjoying the content. But what Surge is it's basically it's a tour where we start out pretty low tier. I believe the draft for this one, we draft 6 to 8 Pokemon, and the max point value we could spend on a draft was 10 points. I believe our first pick, Venomoth here, which you see is in a typical first round pick at a draft league, was 9 points, I want to say, something like that. But we have about 9 points. I think we only had a 45-point budget. We start very low tier. We play 2 rounds, and if you make it on to round 3, you get 10 more points of budget. You can make up to 2 total transactions if you want, and you can upgrade things. You can downgrade things to upgrade things a bunch more, and the budget goes up. You get like 10 more points. The budget goes up to 12, you know, maximum point value, things like that. And you know, then you play a couple more rounds, and if you do better, it goes up to 14, and then it goes up to 16, then probably up to 18, things like that, until you get to the end of the tour. So it's definitely a very, very interesting idea. Now, this will be on BDSP, so this is our first BDSP Wi-Fi Draft League, which will definitely be very exciting. Now, as you all probably know, BDSP has an almost unusable timer. It's a 20-minute timer. It is very, very much so almost unusable. So the people over at BFO decided that it was, in order to keep the tour on BDSP, they would give a 4v4 format a go, just because the games will be a lot more quicker, a lot more offensive. It'll promote more offensive teams, which, you know, definitely has its downsides. And I will not lie to you, I was extremely apprehensive going into this. I was very close to withdrawing from the tour, just because it didn't sound like a lot of fun to me. Not, you know, because I think that they're bad and they shouldn't do what they want to do with their tour. I just wasn't super interested in it, but I decided to stick it out, give it a go. And again, like I said, after building and playing, I've actually really enjoyed it. It's been a nice breath of fresh air. Now, while I don't think this is a format that I would play long term all the time, I want to play 4v4 Draft League on BDSP. It is a good breath of fresh air once or twice a year, playing a tournament like this, and you know, have a good time. So I'm definitely very excited. I hope you guys are as well. And yeah, with that being said, we can kind of jump into our draft for it. You see, first overall, I ended up drafting Venomoth. I think I was 8th or 7th pick out of 8 in my pool. So I wanted to grab something that was just like big centerpiece powerhouse pick, and you wouldn't think that with Venomoth. You really wouldn't, which is completely fair. You look at the base stats, you look at his face, he looks really dumb. He doesn't look that good, unfortunately. However, Venomoth is very, very solid. I'm actually very, very excited to use it. For those of you who don't know, because Venomoth actually wasn't in BDSP, so if you weren't playing in Gen 7 and Gen 6, or you don't play on Showdown or anything like that, Venomoth is actually a very, very slept-on threat, very, very solid Pokemon with the ability Tinted Lens in conjunction with the move Quiver Dance. Now, what Tinted Lens does is it ups the power of not very effective moves, and makes them a lot stronger on not very effective targets, basically making it to where you almost don't have any resistances, it feels like. That's actually great with a typing like Bug and Poison, because you do have a lot of resistances usually, and you can actually push through and bully so many Steel types, so many Fire types, that want to switch into those Bug stabs, and absolutely nuke through them in conjunction with Hazards and Prior Chip, and that's kind of what Venomoth does best, realistically. You get up a Quiver Dance, and you really bully those teams. You have Giga Drain as a coverage option, which is obviously pretty solid, as well as like Psychic, things like that. You can T-Spikes up and be kind of annoying that way with U-Turn. You have Roost for reliable recovery. Like I said, Quiver Dance. So this is a great centerpiece mod. Might not be the most phenomenal in rounds going forward, but at least right now I think it's a very solid piece to build on, and I felt like the Pokemon in the pool around it could actually support a lot better than a lot of the other top tier threats that were still left at this point. So I'm actually really happy with this pick. I'm really excited to use it. I've actually never used Venomoth in draft, so I think this is going to be a fun little trial test run. Next up, though, I wanted to grab something on like the little pseudo wheel that I had. So it was me, then the 8th pick picked twice, and then it was back to me. So really quick wait. I wanted to grab something that supported Venomoth well, and while it can push through its checks like fire types and steel types and things like that, I want something that switched in on fire types and rock types and could bully steel types at the very least, if not switch into them super reliably, and that is going to be Riparian. I love Riparian. If you know me, you know I love Riparian. It's one of my favorite grounds to draft, and for good reason. Solid Rock is such a great ability in conjunction with its fat HP stat, its fat defense stat. It's very mediocre speed F stat, but that's something that we can definitely work on for sure. But in conjunction with those 3 things, it's astronomical attack stat, that edge quake stab coverage, along with great other moves and stuff like Mega Horn for grass types and things like that. Riparian is an absolute unit. It's a great rocker. I can Swords Dance, I can Rock Polish, I can do a ton of things like that. I can just be fat and annoying because of my Solid Rock, my great natural stats, like I said. And again, it supports Venomoth really well in checking those fire types, those rock types, really bullying those steel types, things like that, and really being able to push through them, which I think is great. Venomoth will be able to set up on a lot of bulky waters that Riparian can force in. Again, it really depends on the bulky water and the position that we're in. And it's not as cut and dry as, you know, Riparian checking the things that Venomoth doesn't like, but it's still something to keep in mind at the very least. And it's a Pokemon I really enjoy using, and I think it has great value in the lower and later rounds, which is something that's great. This is a Pokemon I could definitely see sticking with me throughout the entire tournament. If I make it to finals, you'll probably see a Riparian on my team, just because it's such a great ground type, and it's such a great roll compressor. And that's a really important thing in this tournament, especially in these lower rounds, where there's not great selection, is I think roll compression. Really getting Pokemon that give you a big bang for your buck and give you multiple rolls in one mon. If I only have 8 and I can only bring 4, I need things that can do multiple things at once. So it just makes those Pokemon infinitely more valuable to me, and that's Riparian. Next up, we grab Taurus. I grab Taurus for its great speed tier, its great coverage, its ability to really break through and clean a lot of these low tier, weaker teams. The normal spam in conjunction with Venomoth, they kind of are resisted by the same things, so one can kind of break for the other to really do a lot of damage and potentially win the game, which I think is great. Taurus has that Gen 1 coverage. It can sheer force. Now, it did lose Body Slam, which is definitely unfortunate, but in losing Body Slam, it gets to keep Rock Climb, which is definitely very solid. It can miss, but it is stronger than Body Slam, so that's something to keep in mind. And again, still got that Gen 1 coverage, so Taurus is definitely really good. Whew. I'm talking really fast. I'm a level with you guys. I'm very tired. It's been a long day. I just got off of work. I'm talking really fast because I already recorded this video and my mic has been messing up and it cut out like 5 minutes in, and I was like 20 minutes in recording. So if this video is a little bit shorter than that one, I'm sorry. I didn't want to record it again. Okay, I think that's enough of a breather. Let's jump into Polywrath. Polywrath, again, roll compression. Very important thing, and Polywrath really does accomplish that for me. It gives me a water type. It gives me a solid fighting type to really break through the things that Venomoth and Taurus and Riparian do not like. And it gives me a water immunity in Water Reserve, which is great. I can also use it as like a Swift Swim sweeper. I can use it as a belly drum sweeper. I can bulk up and be annoying. I can do a ton of things with Polywrath really well, and its overall blanket kind of stats really do help me out a ton with that. Now, you're going to see my speed tiers are pretty bleh on this whole draft, and I kind of want to preface this because this is like the first of many Pokemon that are between like base 60 and 70 speed, which usually drives me insane. But when you only have 8 Pokemon, you have these lower tier options and threats, and you have to cover so many things. Some things are going to fall by the wayside, and speed tiers were definitely a big downside to this draft. But I think we'll be okay. I think we have a really fun team regardless. And I think Polywrath does compress a ton of other roles for us in that water immunity, that fighting type, that water typing in itself, obviously, being really great and really breaking through a lot of things that the rest of our team doesn't like and pivoting in on a lot of things the rest of our team doesn't like. There's another Pokemon that checks pretty much everything that beats Venomoth defensively. Water types. Or not water types, fire types, it checks rock types, and it checks steel types. And those things are all going to be great to check, or great for a Polywrath to come in and check, obviously, instead. Next up, we have Noctal. Noctal kind of sucks, but if you look at my team up to this point, I don't actually have any removal, and I wanted some semblance of defog. Plus, while I do already have a normal type, I wanted a ground immunity, which, you know, Noctal does give us, but we get another one later, so that's something to keep in mind. We get a ground resist, because I think that's very important. But it also gives us a defogger, and I wanted a way to get rid of rocks in a metagame that does not have boots, so that my Venomoth can truly thrive and do its damn thing, if I so please. Now, I don't think hazards are going to be as good in a metagame like this, that it's going to be so freaking fast-paced and offensive. But I can definitely see it being a big issue, especially for a lot of teams that are like, I need to make sure this Venomoth isn't like Sash or some shenanigans. Though with our next pick, it's probably not going to be Sash, but you know, you get what I mean. I think rocks are just very important in general for to keep off the field for a month. 25%, you know, takes 25% of them every time he switches in, and is a potential win con in a lot of games. So I think that's very important. Next up, there's the ground resist. There's the Pokemon that makes me not run Sash. It's Abomasnow. Abomasnow is awesome, man. It gives me that ground resist, obviously, which the rest of my team was lacking. It gives me not only a Scald switch-in a lot of the time if I'm special, but also something to break through bulky waters, which I really did lack up to this point. So I thought Abomasnow was incredibly important in that regard. It also gives me a Pokemon that can set up dual screens in Aurora Veil. It did keep that function of itself, which is great. And something that I think is going to be really cool with Abomasnow, I think a lot of people are really sleeping on this mod on this tour, because I don't think I saw it drafted very often, is there's a real lack of steel types in this tour, and Abomasnow loves that. Plus, my team, your steel type better be really freaking good if it's going to switch in on Venomoth, if it's going to switch in on Taurus, and it's going to switch in on Abomasnow. It better be really good. And I think the other two Pokemon on our team cover those steel types really well. So I really hope your steel type is incredible, because the rest of my team is going to pressure it immensely. It gets Ice Shard priority, which is also really important in a format like this, where I think offense is going to be king, and it's really going to be tough to deal with. Having a way to, you know, out-prioritize and pick off weakened, faster offensive threats that are potentially set up. Again, absolutely amazing. I really do like this Pokemon. I'm going to throw off Blizzards. I'm going to get a Aurora Veil, and I'm going to be a nuisance so that my opponent, you know, doesn't have a good time. And, you know, I do have a good time, which is great. Next up, Chimecho. Now, there's a lot of really scary offensive fighting types in low tier. If you've ever played low tier draft, there's a lot of scary offensive fighting types. And one in particular I was really scared of that 6-0'd me on a matchup at this point was Medicham, and Medicham was a very high price point in high priced mon in this metagame. And I think he went drafted in every single pool in like the top 5. And I wanted a reliable check to it, and Chimecho actually does so really well. Not only does it get reliable recover, it can also wish, and wish pass up the rest of our team, which I think is actually incredibly important. It can Psychic and Dazzling Gleam and Shadow Ball, and we can like Thunder Wave things, or we can Nasty, or I think it gets Nasty. I know it gets Calm Mind, so we can Calm Mind through things potentially. Jeez. It gets Parasong, which is also a really niche option. Spoilers, I think we might use that in round 1, which goes up tomorrow. So definitely keep your eyes peeled out for big Chimecho putting a little bit of work in. But I'm definitely very excited to use Chimecho, despite its very lackluster looking stats. Its bulk is still very solid, and it provides great support. Oh, it also gets Heal Bell, which is not a super widely distributed move in this game, which I think is really, really important as well. And I think it lost Defog. It might get Defog, I don't know. But if so, it does give me another Defog, but that's not the main reason I drafted it. I wanted a good offensive fighting check, and Chimecho really does do that for me, so I'm really excited to use it. And lastly, we had 1 point left with 1 Pokemon, so we might as well grab Banette. Now, do I think Banette is good? No. Am I going to probably drop Banette going into the next round? Yeah, I'm probably going to. However, at least in this round, what it does is it gives me, I guess, a spin blocker, if that ends up being a thing, but my team's not super hazard heavy anyways. But it gives me good, strong priority in Shadow Sneak, which, a lot like Abomasnow, I want a good priority. It was a suggestion of Aquarius from my front office to, you know, make sure you secure some decent priority. And I think Banette does do that, which is definitely very, very solid. It gives me a fighting immunity, which is also, you know, pretty nice. A normal immunity, which is also nice, because I think normal stamina is pretty good, especially against my team that doesn't actually have a normal resist. Again, oh no, I do have a normal resist in Riparian, but again, still a nice thing to have. I can Willow's things, I can T-Wave things, I can even set up Trick Room and get my slow breakers in, because my team is incredibly slow. And my speed tiers are incredibly terrible, so if I have a matchup where I'm outsped by everything, I can run like a Trick Room cheesy Banette, which is definitely a lot of fun. So I'm definitely really excited for it. I'm really excited for this team. If you guys are excited for this run, be sure to drop a like. If you're new here, be sure to drop a sub to see our Surge games as they go up. Our first game is going up tomorrow. It is against Goki Gamer, and it is definitely a very fun one, and I built a really fun team, and I'm hoping you guys enjoyed a ton. And yeah, with that being said, I will see you guys tomorrow. Later.